It's been a while since we've been this excited for a new product. It's the CK61 from Yamaha. It's the new generation. They're combining their old YC technology with their old CP technology, and we get this fantastic stage instrument. This is the 61 key version. We'll also be looking at the 88 key version in another video, and then we'll do a product review. But today we are specifically looking at the CK61, the most lightweight and one of the most versatile staged instruments that's on the market.
Hi, this is Ted with Alamo Music Center in downtown San Antonio, Texas.
I'm Patrick Marr. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. Also check out our new website. It's alamopianogalleries.com, highlighting our 9 stores across different states. Find out which one's nearest to you and come check out some of our very awesome, fantastic products and some of our fantastic people as well. Ted, today we are looking at a very cool, we're stage piano junkies a little bit around here. It's always fun to see the newest, latest, and greatest. But the CK series, before we really dive in, we're going to start with a piano fact. And the piano fact that we're going to talk about today is, and we've done a whole video on this topic, but the different actions of a keyboard. I think it's really important to hit those, especially in line with this video, because a lot of times when people are looking for an instrument, they don't realize how important that action, that feel is going to be. And so just kind of going through the different actions real quick on what a digital piano can have.
Well, there's graded hammer weight, which is kind of at the top of the line. Wooden keys, graded. It's trying to simulate an upright piano action or a grand piano.
And it's heavier
action.
in the bass section.
And it's heavier. The keys are heavier.
And so that's that graded word. So it's
the graded hammers. It's because on a real piano, the grand piano, the hammers are really large, and then they get to where they're really small at the top, and they gradually decrease in size.
And so there's graded weighted hammers, right? And then there's just a weighted action as well.
Which is almost all keys equal. And most piano players and professional keyboard players are kind of used to that right now. Just the,
Well, it's kind of, a lot of teachers I know will be like, hey, at least get weighted keys.
Weighted hammer or weighted keys. Graded hammers is ideally, but generally that's going to be a bit of a cost.
So those will look, they'll look like piano keys when you press them down. On this instrument we're looking at today, the CK61, there's something called synth keys, which are kind of spring-loaded.
They're kind of spring-loaded, but they also have something that synth keys never had in the 70s. And I don't want to go too much old school because no two Fender Rhodes and no two Whirlies ever played alike. Okay, those are supposedly the same actions. Synth action is a combination of just almost like an on and off. And it required a lot of, it didn't have any touch sensitivity. That's a product of the 80s. And then in the 90s, it was starting to get into more piano feel, weighted feel. But the synth action now is like a spring action, but it has touch sensitivity to it. So you can hit hard, you can hit soft. And the soft that you need to play is really, really soft. And it gets a really good medium trigger on the sounds.
Yeah, it's basically a velocity reader on how hard you're striking or how impactful your hit is.
Synth action was first talked about when the DX7s came out, because that was something that was an upgraded keyboard or synthesizer action, because it actually had those workable Fender Rhodes and those whirly kind of sounds in it that keyboard players like, but they didn't have to play real hard.
And then there's semi-weighted action, which sounds like it's an in-between spring and a weighted action, but really it's kind of a different beast completely.
It is. It's designed to keep you from making a lot of mistakes that you would accidentally make on a spring action.
Well, and the semi-weight is actually, it's mimicking an organ. So it's like the release has a time almost. It's like there's no I guess, not friction, but there's no pressure going downwards, but coming up. So it plays almost like an inverse keyboard. So the semi-action you almost never want unless you're an organ player looking for specifically looking for that feel of an organ.
And the last thing I can say about actions is this is pretty important because there's organ sounds in here, and you already mentioned the action that organs have that are different. That, to my knowledge, there's only one manufacturer out there right now that is making essentially flat-ended keys like an organ has without the overhang, because that's real important to B3 and to rotary organ players, and I think that's probably the SK series that Suzuki has out, which are the B3, the Hammond replacements. They actually have Hammond type keys on it.
And the YC models of Yamaha's previous generation, they had some
those.
semi-weighted keys on them as well. So it is an option. Nord, I know, does have some organ simulated weighted or semi-weighted actions. So you just have to be careful which action you're looking at. Today we are looking at a new action from Yamaha. That's their new release with this CK series. So the CK61, going right into it, really a fantastic instrument because it looks complicated. You know, when we opened it out of the box, I was like, oh great, there's a whole bunch of stuff we need to learn. But once you actually take a look at it, it starts making a lot of sense. You know, the left side of the keyboard is going to be organ controls primarily, and so you have slider bars. Kind of makes it a more enticing experience.
Drawbar experience.
And instead of having to go in and menu dive on some of these instruments that we've seen in the past, where you have to, we got to turn on this and we got to roll these dials off.
They work like drawbars. These are all the way off, and so then when you want the sounds,
you're pulling them out towards you.
You pull them down. Right.
And so that's going to be your organ component. As you move on, there's a layering on the 3 sliders here in the middle. You can layer sounds, so it's really easy to turn on and off a different sound and stack up to 3 voices. There's 2 split points, which is a lot of fun. You can split the keyboard and have 4 different sounds going. You can also there's registration in your live set. So when you click the registration from 1 to 8, that's controlling the stage instrument differently and saving your presets. And then this whole right side. There's separator bars, but you're basically turning on and off different effects.
It's a great effects rack. It really is.
And so it just makes it a lot of fun. It's the CP series had switches before, had these switches, and you turn off modules of the instrument, and some of them had different effects capabilities. This kind of has it all, and we're going to go through and showcase some of these effects. We're going to listen to the voices. Batteries.
This thing runs on batteries. You can load it up, I think, with AA batteries, 8 of them, and go out and play. And the CK88 does the same thing too. What amazed me about this is that even though it is set up exactly like you would dream of a perfect stage piano or stage keyboard, it's more than that because it's inspiring in a different way because of the action and the way that the keys work. It someone like me thinking that this is a great instrument to have with other musicians because it's not really a piano where you have all 88 keys, and the keys are not designed to be played like an 88 key piano. So as a result, what I really loved about this one is that it's more of a synth-driven keyboard instrument multi-tool than it is just a great Rhodes or a great piano or something like that. Even though those sounds are in here, you want to play this thing different, more like all the solos. And as an example,
the pads and the lead parts and all the
Yeah, and what I think one of the funnest things about it is you can pull up on any one of the sampled sounds and then run it through the effects, which includes the resonance and the attack and the sustain. And so that's almost I took a banjo sound just when I was fooling with it and turned it into a synth lead just by altering the sounds and putting effects on it. And you can do that with any sound and go right back to the
envelope
original
filter. And we'll mess with that here in the video of going through it. But yeah, you kind of just move your way throughout and you can plug in and turn off and turn on whatever you're looking at. And I think to your point, this is something that is, I would say, one of the best instruments for a non-keyboard player wanting to get into keyboard or to learn. It's a music producer's or a bandmate's dream.
That one thing I mentioned where you can pull a sound from their library of sounds, even their grand piano, and run it through all these effects and change it and alter it and use it as a different synth sound. There isn't any other product on the market I'm aware of that you can pull those sounds, fool around with, especially like in this price range and in these type of sounds, that you can just go in there and instantly play with it and go right back to the original or keep it as one of your own sounds. And if this were a pedal rack, this would be a whole bunch of pedals on here.
Yeah.
And the sound card that's in here also includes an input for audio input, so you can still access all the effects, use them outdoors. And I actually brought notes for this because this thing has like 19 pianos, 14 electric pianos, 20 organs, 62 brass horn woodwind settings, 58 guitars and basses, including synth basses, 42 orchestral sounds, 65 pads, 51 leads, and 38 percussion and ethnic sounds in it. And that's where I found the banjos.
Yeah,
they're in the other sounds.
They have 363 voices on here. We're not going to go through all of them, but we'll go through a good amount of them. We'll hit the shining spots, but then we'll also take a look at some of the versatility with the different effects on board. So let's take a listen to it. We'll come back. We'll talk about a couple more features. It does have onboard speakers, which is really nice as a player. You can turn on and off, and you don't have to go through a menu or anything. There's actually a switch on the back that you can cut speakers or turn them back on. 2 6-watt speakers, so not going to blow you away, but it's a great reference point for a player. So let's take a listen to it. Ted's going to play it, then I'll play it, and we'll go through some of the effects, and we'll come back around to it.
Patrick, like I said, I played this one entirely different than I played the digital piano model. And I think that it's just proving that Yamaha's proven a point here. With the same concept of a keyboard, they made a phenomenal synthesizer and they made a phenomenal digital piano. And they're both in one, or they're both separate deals. And when I was finishing up the demo on this, I was telling Josh, I think we need to put him in front of the camera for this, and he's real excited about it. I said, the way to go with this is to get one and put another one on top. So one is truly a synth, and then everything else that you need, and the other one you can just use as a true piano. So you have all your grand pianos, your Whirlies and your Rhodes down in here, and all your strings and synth pads up here. What I wanted to point out that is an incredible thing is there are some people that may buy this specifically only for the organ sounds because the sounds are great. And if you remember the old Reface series with those small keyboards had phenomenal sound cards in them. And this keyboard, when I first played with it, it was like they took all the Refaces and put them into one. And then they made a synth model, and they made a digital piano model based on different keyboards and how they work. But what I notice is there's improvements along the way. And in the vibrato for the organs, you can pick which type of vibratos you want based on what kind of organs you have. And so they have like the Vox, and then they have like the different kind of vibratos that are there for the Hammond organs and so on. And then each of them, they give them the initial name. So there's the H, the Y for the different, the V, the Y's for the Yamaha organ. And so they have different settings on the organs when you get to them. These are like drawbars, so they do draw down. You can pick the type of vibrato you want, and it is a gradual thing. And then also they have the percussion kit, and you can put it on and off, and whether it's a hard or a slight percussion. And then the speed, they have a fast and slow, which is kind of like flipping the knob on a Leslie. And now the one thing I've noticed is I've watched other guys demo this keyboard. Some of them are Leslie players and they're organ players, and an organ player is great at holding down sustains. And I always have to tell myself when I'm demoing organs, don't use the sustain pedal. But they hold their hands down, and then part of the effect of an organ is not just having the same sound, is that to take that sound and embellish it with speeding up and slowing down the Leslie, pulling down and drawing out different bars, so you pull out certain frequencies just for a measure or so.
Yeah.
And so that's why I never liked being a Leslie or an organ player, because you had to spend more time making the thing sound extremely like you're controlling the soul of the instrument is a lot of work. And you watch a lot of those gospel Leslie players, they're never just playing. They're always doing something, flipping the Leslie, or messing with the volume. And there's a lot of controls. And all of that is available here on the organ section. I think that's a really high-end feature. The other thing that is phenomenal is you have the 3 volume knob, so that anytime you can tell exactly where A, B, and C is. It's a mini mixer. And then you also have the mini mixer on the EQ for the overall with a reverb knob. The separate controls they gave you are just the ones that any musician's going to reach for.
Yeah, and once you start using it, you kind of feel, I guess, like an organ player of old. You feel like you have control of the sound on any aspect that you want.
Even a synth player.
And so there's a couple different places to punch in compression. There's a couple different places to punch in delay, and so you can layer that. So like in the effects processor here, where you have effects 1 and 2, there's a compressor and an EQ and a reverb and a delay, but those are also separated out into different fields as well. So you can stack them, or you can use different effects to layer it differently. So that's a pretty cool thing. And when we do a product overview of this, we'll get a little bit more into some of those details. But the CK61, it's got a microphone input, so you're able to use it as an interface if you wanted to. So this connects real easily to your computer. It also has a Bluetooth connection, which is makes it versatile, where you can play music out of it if this is something at the gig and you want to connect your Bluetooth to the sound system. It's a workaround right here, so it makes it pretty easy to control. And it has, we were looking at it, and it's one of those things. It's very feature dense, but only the features that people want. And instead of trying to teach you something new, it's trying to give you access to everything that you would want as a player.
Well, what I like about it, and I know this sounds really, really old school, is this instrument seems like it has more of a soul to me, because it's got all the knobs that you can control the internal parts.
And yeah, they switch back to buttons instead of switches and stuff. And so just a couple feature sets that make it a little bit different, refresh it. And to your point, the Reface series was a really cool series from Yamaha. They're a little small portable it's different sounds, and there's the CP, and there was all these ones. There's the organ simulator, the electric piano, the synth one, and one's escaping. But there was 4 of them, and it seems like they squeezed all that into here,
Right.
And have really given you access to a lot. And for not that much, $9.99 is what the CK61 comes in at. And it weighs less than 13 pounds. I want to say it's 12 and a half pounds.
9 kilos.
12.6 pounds. And so really lightweight, really easy to pick up and go. And the battery component thing. So it has a power adapter that you can plug into the wall, but being able to take it with batteries somewhere is even cooler. And so just super versatile. Really an incredible instrument. It has your left and right out, so you can run it like a professional thing. And yeah, just nothing to complain about. It's really a cool instrument. And so if you've had a privilege to play one of these CK61s, if you've owned maybe the YC before or a CP, before this, and say, hey, I love the CP88. It was everything I wanted. Please leave comments below, because this is, I want to say, a really cool offering from Yamaha. And then it also has the bigger brother, which has the 88 keys. The brain is going to be very similar on both. It's actually identical. The wattage of the speakers is identical. Just the biggest difference is going to be the feel and how it kind of responds to you as a player, because having 88 keys in front of you is different than having a synth action and a portable little 61 key box. It feels like a different instrument, even though a lot of the controls are the same. So the way we approach them as players is going to be different. And so let's take a look at the CK88. Make sure you're subscribed, because we will do a video on that highlighting the CK88 from Yamaha. Really excited about playing that one as well. And then we will do a product overview, kind of highlighting more in depth some of the deeper features and kind of looking around interactively while we talk about it. Thank you guys for watching. Again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our other videos, and sign up for notifications. We love to make you guys content. We love to interact with you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.